Hi, my name is Ryan, and in this video let's create the simple button hover effects in HTML and CSS. So here in my HTML file all I have is a set of button elements and I've given each button a class, and that's all we need for the HTML. Now let's go to our CSS file. Here I've given a few styles to the body. I've given the body a background color of 333 and the rest of the styles are meant to vertically and horizontally center the buttons on the page. Now let's move ahead and start styling the button elements. So we'll give the button a background of none in order to remove the default background, and we'll also remove the default border by saying border none, and we'll choose a font family of Verdana. We'll give it a height of 60 pixel and we'll give it a width of 200 pixel. We'll also give it a line height of 60 pixel and we'll give it a border of 2 pixel solid salmon. Next we'll say box sizing border box. We'll give it a display of flex and we'll justify content to the center. We'll give it a letter spacing of 0.3 em. We'll choose a cursor of pointer. We'll give it a margin to the left of 20 pixel. We'll choose a font color of white. And finally, let's say text transform uppercase. And also let's increase the font size to 1.1 em. Now we need to give these buttons a background which will appear only when somebody hovers over them. In order to create this background, we'll be using the before pseudo element. So let's select all the 4 buttons using the respective classes. So I'll say btn before, and I'll do the same for the rest of the buttons. So this will be btn1, btn2, btn3 and btn4. And let me make some space at the bottom. First let's set the content to nothing. We'll give it a height of 60 pixel. We'll give it a width of 100%. We'll give it a background of salmon and we'll give it a position of absolute, and we'll position it at a distance of 0 from the top. Now we need to position it in relation to the buttons, so I'll come up here and I'll say position relative, and we need to send this background behind the text so that we can see the text. So I'll say z-index -1. By default we don't want the background to be seen, so let's remove the background. We'll be styling the background individually for each button, so let's do that. First I'll select the class of btn1 before, and I'll say transform scale on the y-axis to 0. Next we'll say transform origin center. So this is because we want the background to be visible starting from the center moving to the top and the bottom. And also let's add in some transition, and the duration is going to be 0.2 seconds. Now let's start working on the hover state. I'll say btn1 hover before, and here we'll say transform and scale it on the y-axis back to 1. So let's check it in the browser, and here you can see that the background is appearing starting from the center and moving to the top and the bottom. However, if you look closely, the background is slightly moving out of the borders. Now in order to correct this, all we need to do is reduce the height from 60 to 58 pixels. Now let's check it. And the background is now within the borders. Now let's start styling the second button. We'll select the class of btn2 and we'll say transform scale, this time on the x-axis, to 0, and again we'll say transform origin center, and we'll also add in some transition. Duration will be 0.2 seconds. Now let's work on the hover state. So I'll say btn2 hover double colon before, and I'll say transform scale on the x-axis back to 1. Now let's check it in the browser, and here you can see the background starting from the center and moving to the left and the right. Now let's start working on the third button. So we'll select the class of btn3 and we'll say transform scale on the y-axis to 0, and we want the transform origin to be top, and we'll add in some transition. And now let's work on the hover state. So all we need to do is say transform scale on the y-axis back to 1. Now as you can see, the background is moving from the top to the bottom. And finally let's move on to the fourth button. So instead of writing it all over again, I'll simply copy this and I'll paste it here at the bottom, and there are just few changes I'm going to make. I'll change it to btn4. I'll say transform scale on the x-axis, and this is going to be left, and finally change this to 4, and this will be scaling on the x-axis. And if we check this, we can see that the background is moving from the left and reaching the right. And these were some simple hover effects you can use for the buttons, and it was quite simple. And that is it for this video. Hope you like it. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, have a nice day.